The swinging S&P, high times on Wall Street as the index dances to a record. In today's cover story, the $22 piece of plastic that is causing commotion in the air. And as credit cards creep into more wallets, will cash remain king? Plus, Greece is the word as Burger King ties a knot with a donut joint. First Business starts now.
You're watching First Business. Financial news, analysis, and today's investment ideas.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Angela Miles. It's Wednesday, August 27th. In today's First Look, the S&P closes above 2,000 for the first time in history. It was a squeaker, though. The index ended the session at 2,000.02. The rest of the market also rallied with the Dow up 30 and the Nasdaq up 14. Gold edged up $4 while investors gave oil a 62-cent lift. Mobileye is the stock of the moment. Analysts are talking up the company, which makes a camera-based system to help drivers avoid accidents. Shares rallied 8% yesterday. And Smith & Wesson misfires on its forecast. That stock fell 10% on concerns of a glut of guns. Trader Larry Schober of SFG Alternatives joins us now. Larry, we made it just over that hurdle of 2,000 on the S&P 500. The next question is, where do we go from here, Larry?
Well, I think right now we're in a multiples market. I mean, earnings are good. The important numbers are good, meaning ISM, GDP, jobless claims. I think we're going to ratchet a little bit higher. It's just going to be tough sledding going forward.
How critical is it that Tiffany shines with its earnings report today?
Yeah, great question. It's very important, actually, because there aren't many high-end retailers out there that are actually reporting. And we saw Coach come out a few weeks ago. Very good. It'd be very good for the economy to see Tiffany's do well and beat estimates.
So we had the durable goods orders come in yesterday. The numbers soared 22.6% there. But if you take out the orders for aircrafts, is that number great or just okay?
You know, that number's okay, and I think that was within consensus, but it just adds to the fact that we are healing. When you look at ISM, when you look at GDP, you look at consumer confidence, all these numbers are pointing in the right direction, that we're going in the right direction.
Always great to have you on our show for direction. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Well, Chuck Coppola lands on the show now with sky-high drama that has everybody talking. Good morning, Chuck.
In today's cover story, you can buy a $22 device that prevents airline seats from reclining, but that doesn't mean that the airline will let you use it, nor the passenger ahead of you who feels it's her right to recline. This passengers learned on a flight diverted to Chicago after a fight broke out over it. A United Airlines flight from Newark, New Jersey to Denver, Colorado was disrupted Sunday after a male passenger placed two plastic clips that blocked the seat ahead from reclining. It's called the Knee Defender. The female passenger ahead complained, and despite a flight attendant who said that the device's use is prohibited, the man refused to budge. It led to an altercation, the flight diverted to Chicago, and both passengers taken off the plane. It wasn't hard to find opinions about this.
I think it's inconsiderate for the person who's sitting in the seat in front of you if they want to recline, especially if there's a long flight.
What if they're reclining and it's back on top of your knees, though?
Well, that's when communication comes in. Then you politely ask the person in front, can you let your seat up a little bit? You're on my legs.
Should the airlines have the right to restrict these from being used?
No, I don't believe so.
The man behind was reportedly trying to use his laptop computer. The Knee Defender was invented more than 10 years ago, and though most airlines, including United, don't allow it, its inventor told USA Today, "As far as I know, this is the first time anything like this has happened."
I think everyone has the right to tell the person in front of them, please don't recline. It's very uncomfortable for me and you have bad knees. But to restrict that capability without their approval creates a whole dynamic that could lead to conflict on board.
The Knee Defender comes with a courtesy card from the person behind, suggesting that passengers unable to recline complain to the airline for more legroom.
I don't think the airlines are going to do anything except put more people into the planes as they can. And that's what they're doing already.
Effective Monday, American Airlines will pull fares off Orbit's website. The president of the airline says we have worked tirelessly with Orbitz to reach a deal with economics that allow us to keep costs low and compete with low-cost carriers. American will continue to offer fares with other online sites and travel agencies. Tickets already issued through Orbitz won't be affected. Orbitz says in a statement, our sites offer hundreds of airlines which are eager to capture the revenue American is choosing to forego.
Troubled Malaysia Airlines has a revival plan in place. Measures reportedly include laying off as much as 25% of the airline's staff, dropping routes, and replacing the CEO. The changes come in the wake of two disasters. The first in March when MH Flight 370 disappeared on its way from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. That plane has not been found. Then last month, Flight 17 crashed in eastern Ukraine. It's believed to have been shot down by a surface-to-air missile. Malaysia Airlines is bleeding $2 million per day. Any restructuring would need to be approved by the Malaysian government.
A major recall is happening at Hewlett-Packard. The tech giant is recalling 6 million computer power cords. The Consumer Product Safety Commission says it follows 29 reports of cords melting or charring. The LS15 AC power cords sold between September 2010 through June 2012 were distributed with Hewlett-Packard and Compaq notebook and mini notebook computers, as well as AC adapter powered accessories such as docking stations.
One auto investigation closes as another one opens. Investigators are looking into Ford Explorers due to a complaint that front brake hoses can fail. It covers 20,000 2013 Explorer SUVs. Meanwhile, regulators have closed an investigation into power brake assist problems with 100,000 Toyota Camry hybrids, model years 2007 through 2011. Consumers say they have to press harder on the brake pedal to prompt brake assistance. Toyota is not, however, issuing a recall, but will extend warranties to fix the issue.
Satisfaction with U.S. car companies is hitting a speed bump. It's a small one, but the American Customer Satisfaction Index score for cars and light trucks comes in at an 82 out of 100. That's down 1 point from last year. GM's Chevrolet and Buick were the only two brands that had scores that improved year over year. Among foreign automakers, a number of luxury brands, including Lexus, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz, posted drops.
Consumers are gaining considerable amounts of confidence. The Conference Board's Consumer Index climbed in August to its highest level in 7 years, to 92.4. A Bloomberg forecast had expected a decline in the index to 89. Economists point to a brighter job market and the continued climb of the stock market as reasons for the upbeat feelings. Consumer confidence is tied to consumer spending, and August's high number points to a possible uptick there.
Top executives are finding jobs faster and winding up with bigger paychecks, according to a study by BPI Group.
Most are finding jobs at least as much, if not more, than what they were making before. The interesting thing that we note is there are fewer making less than there were a year, 2 years ago.
Steve Spires, managing director of BPI, says a majority of top executives in the survey are earning between $150,000 and $250,000 per year as a base salary. The study also reveals executives are spending less time out of the workforce at an average of 4.7 months compared to the national average of 7.7 months.
Healthcare.gov has a new boss. The Obama administration has appointed Kevin Cunahan as the exchange's first CEO. Cunahan is the former head of Connecticut's online health marketplace, one of the nation's most successful sites. The federal health exchanges faced initial glitches during the first enrollment period. Cunahan joins the team ahead of the next enrollment period, which begins November 15th.
President Obama says he's instituting a new culture of accountability at the Department of Veterans Affairs. The president addressed thousands of veterans Tuesday at the American Legion National Convention.
We're focused on this at the highest levels. We are going to get to the bottom of these problems. We're going to fix what is wrong. We're going to do right by you, and we are going to do right by your families, and that is a solemn pledge and commitment that I'm making to you here.
The president's speech came just days after he signed a $16 billion reform bill meant to clean up the VA health system. It follows a scandal of mismanagement at the VA facility in Phoenix. So far, investigators have found no proof that veterans died because of delays in care. The FBI is now looking into allegations of delayed care and falsified records at VA hospitals around the nation.
There are now more than 15,000 oil and gas wells in North Dakota. The huge number of wells disclosed in a regulatory statement is how the northern state produces more than 1 million barrels of oil each month. North Dakota's Bakken Shale Formation is one of the world's most prolific. The 15,000 threshold also means a triggering of new oil field inspectors, something environmentalists and farmers have been clamoring for.
Amazon may need to light a fire under its smartphone division. The e-tailer's debut of its Fire Phone has sold a scant 35,000 units in its first 25 days on the market. That translates to just 0.02% of market share. The disappointing sales come despite the phone's prime placement on Amazon's highly visited website. Critics point to the phone's high price and lack of popular Google apps.
A shift in buying behavior is hurting sales at Best Buy. The electronic retailer's earnings were essentially in line with analyst expectations, but sales fell more than anticipated. Best Buy CEO Hubert Joly says the brick-and-mortar business is feeling pressure as consumers increasingly research and buy online.
A big-time shareholder in Radio Shack reportedly is making an effort to save the company from bankruptcy. Bloomberg News reports Standard General, a New York-based hedge fund, is in talks with Radio Shack executives about a rescue financing package. Analysts at UBS consider a comeback by the retailer highly doubtful. Moody's Investor Services says Radio Shack may not have enough cash for a turnaround.
A new survey finds American teens could use a refresher course on money skills. A study by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development surveyed 29,000 teens in 18 countries. In the U.S., 18% of students did not even have a basic grasp of financial knowledge. Ted Beck of the National Endowment for Financial Education explains how to have the money talk.
The common mistakes we see are, first of all, not having a budget that's realistic and that they don't have an emergency fund set aside. So they're starting, especially if they're going out to college or a job, they don't have that money set aside so that they can pay for things.
Beck notes that a recession hangover has some parents stressing the importance of finances to children at an earlier age.
Turning to the economic calendar for today, it's the MBA Mortgage Index and crude inventories. On the earnings outlook, Williams-Sonoma, Casella Waste Systems, Guess, Express, Workday, and Tiffany & Company. Still to come, do Americans prefer cold, hard cash to credit cards? The surprising answer. And another McDonald's bites the dust in Russia. Plus, will a mega merger in the food industry contribute to the rise of the donut burger? Stay with us. It's not over. Russian safety regulators are suspending business at yet another McDonald's. It's the fifth location Russian officials have shut down because of what they call violations of sanitary rules. But analysts wonder if the massive and unscheduled inspections and subsequent closures have more to do with the escalating tensions between Moscow and Washington as both sides have sanctions in place. Bill Mueller has more on what's trending in the U.S. food industry.
Well, Angie, it is a whopper of a deal. It's financed in part by Warren Buffett. You've heard this. Burger King buying Canadian coffee and donut chain Tim Hortons. It's going to create the world's third largest quick service restaurant. It's going to have $23 billion in annual sales, more than 18,000 outlets in 100 countries. Yeah, big, but is it smart? Let's talk to a man who knows, Darren Tristano. He's Executive Vice President at the food industry research consulting firm Technomic. Okay, does this merger make sense?
Well, it's very hard to argue with Warren Buffett. I think the merger makes a great deal of sense, especially on paper. What it does is it provides Burger King with an opportunity to move north of the border, take advantage of both the financial positioning on taxes, and to be able to operate more effectively and offer more for this merger deal with Tim Hortons.
But Darren, didn't Wendy's try this already with Tim Hortons?
Wendy's has already been through this process, and this was about 5 or 6 years ago, and they decided to move away from it to focus more on Wendy's brand, which has done very well since. But I think Burger King is trying to figure out how they can take advantage of this situation. Now, both brands operate very effectively in the breakfast day part. They don't compete as much, but they know a lot and they're able to complement each other. So they can offer each other things like better quality coffee and be able to bring some of the baked goods that Tim Hortons has done for years over to the Burger King side.
Is that one of the consumer changes that we'll notice in the United States? Tim Hortons coffee, for example, at a Burger King?
I think what you'll notice is that Tim Hortons, which has over 850 restaurants already in the United States, will aggressively grow and leverage Burger King's infrastructure to find more franchising and more openings. Overall, you'll see more of their products moving into Burger King's line, so perhaps we could be seeing donuts on the menu at breakfast, or even a burger donut like Wendy's has done with the pretzel bun. Maybe we're going to see more of the donut bun.
So you think that these two companies as standalones will be better as a single company?
Ideally, beyond the financial, the synergies that restaurants have, they have experience, they have strong leadership, they have great research and knowledge of the industry across all of North America. So as a result, they should in fact be stronger together than alone.
Darren Tristano from Technomic. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Coming up, the oil trade happening now you won't want to miss. And after the break, young Americans have a new PayPal. We'll be right back. Cash is still king. A new report finds Americans prefer to plunk down dollars and cents on certain purchases. Joining us now, Matt Scholes of creditcards.com. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
So what led you to this conclusion?
Well, we did a survey, and what we found is that 2/3 of American credit card holders will prefer to use cash when they're making a purchase that is $5 or less. But one of the interesting things is that the younger you are, the more you're likely to prefer debit or credit instead of cash for those purchases.
To be fair, why should we be concerned about this report? Aren't we already moving towards a cashless society?
Well, I think we are, but we're still a pretty long way away from a cashless society. And it is important to think about how you do these types of purchases because of the protections and the rewards that you can get when you're making them.
So when is it the right choice to use a credit card versus using cash?
Well, it's always the right choice to use a credit card if you know that you can pay your bill off at the end of every month. If you can't do that, then the math starts to work against you no matter how big the purchase is.
Now, break down what you found as far as ages.
Well, what we found is that if you are 65 or older, 80% of those credit card holders would prefer to use cash for these small purchases. Whereas with 18 to 29-year-olds, it's about a 50-50 split between plastic and cash. However, those 18 to 29-year-olds are 3 times more likely to prefer debit to credit cards.
Well, thank you for bringing your study to us this morning. That's Matt Scholes of creditcards.com. Have a good day.
You too.
Still ahead, big money is flowing into oil stocks. Find out how one trader plans to profit. Chart Talk is next. Chart Talk this morning, Andrew Keen, president of KeenOnTheMarket.com, joins us. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, Angie. How are you?
So you're here. I'm doing well. I want to talk about this retailer, though, that has not been doing well over the past year. It's Express. It's popular with teens, 20-somethings, 30-somethings. It reports earnings today. What do you see in the charts on this one, Andrew?
Yeah, if you look at it, gapped higher from $13.80 to $17, and private equity, it's recently selling off. They had reported earnings this morning. They have about 600 stores. The stock has been underperforming year to date, down about 22% year to date. This is a kind of stock, kind of like AEO and ARO, where a lot of bad news is built into it. I'm going to see if it can test down to $13.80. If there's some buyers coming in the market, I would like to get long at that level. But right now, I don't want to have a position on just yet.
And this is definitely a trade, correct?
Yeah, it's definitely a trade. If I've been to those stores before, I probably haven't been in 15 years. But ARO, AEO, and Express are the exact same business model. A lot of the bad news is factored into it. Maybe if there's another private equity deal, it can get a bid. 1380 is a key level to keep an eye on.
I also am watching what's going on in the oil patch. Some of these stocks are starting to catch a bid here, including Petrobras. What do you think about that one?
Oh, PBR has been on fire. We've seen a lot of institutional buyers of upside calls. That's bullish activity in PBR. I actually do not have a position on that one. NOV's also got a bid. We saw Halliburton calls being bought. Another one we saw was Oxy, OXY. Big institutional buyer and call spreads in January. Someone thinks these oil names are going higher. One more to mention, MRO. We saw some bullish activity yesterday in MRO. I've been in and out of the space. Currently, I am out of the space.
But the bulls are definitely in this space, so why?
I don't know. We see oil continuing to move lower. People think it's going down to $85. You have the refiners that aren't doing that well. The Valeros, the MPCs, Tesoro. Those were ripping higher recently, and they started to back off the last couple of days. But, the oil name is still a hot. LNG, Cheniere, keep an eye on that one. Any pullback should be bought in Cheniere.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Coming up tomorrow, similar to high-frequency traders, find out how film studios use algorithms to predict audience money moves at the box office. Join us for Movies and Money. From all of us at First Business, we hope it's a great day ahead.